fabulous they were, and then decided everybody else in the world needed one too. So, and I'm joined today by Phil, Ruth, Leighton, Carol and Zara, who are all part of our board and our committee, and they all do a wonderful job. So, when we first met Swifty about 18 months ago, I did not know that this little dog was going to create so much of a fuss, but look at why we're all here. And so it was only when Marilyn adopted her, and then within the first few weeks said, "Oh my gosh, this dog has such a personality," and we all went, "Oh yeah, we know, because that's Greyhounds." But as Marilyn said, Swifty leapt off of the page and has a story to tell, and she was so lucky to have Marilyn, who is able to share that story with you. So thank you very much again for coming out today. Thank you very much to Barbie for standing in, and if you haven't already gone and looked at the Living Arts website, after you bought your books today and all of your dog things up there, make sure when you get home you have a look. So,
and take a bookmark.
Oh yes, and both all the books and the bookmarks. So if everyone can join, put your hands together for Barbie and Marilyn.
Oh yeah, Greyhound has to stay on.
Tiara.
I'm going to do this extra fast because it's already raining, and so our conversation might be very, very rapid. I want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Ngunnawal people and respectfully acknowledge their stewardship of the land, of the culture and of the language, and the way that they have cared for thousands of years for the place in which we live. Now, Marilyn, I'm going to stand on that side of you because Star needs to have some light there too. Let's, before we're all taken away by the storm, first of all, talk a little bit about Swifty and Marilyn, that relationship. We have, as Marilyn said, an arts organisation called Living Arts Canberra, so I have interviewed Marilyn and I have met Swifty. So I'm familiar, even though I'm a terrible disappointment and not Karen Viggers, for which I apologise. I've got a little bit of background enough to have this chat with Marilyn. Now, Marilyn, this beautiful dog, Swifty, why did you decide to adopt a Greyhound?
Well, we had always had Kelpies, and anybody who's ever had a Kelpie knows that they like to run for about 30k every day, if possible. And we just didn't feel we were up to it anymore. And when I lost my last very beloved Kelpie, it took me a while, as it always does, to recover from the death of a dog, even a very old dog. And then my son, Harry, had a Greyhound, and I just thought, what amazing dogs. I never knew about Greyhounds being amazing dogs. And, you know, this dog takes over Harry's sofa and is very gentle. So I started looking on the Greyhound Connections Facebook site, and then I saw Swifty's face. I mean, literally staring up at me. I thought, my God, that's it. I'm in love. I didn't tell my husband or anybody. I just contacted Greyhound Connections, and they said, "Oh, Swifty's already been adopted." No, but in fact, Swifty wasn't happy, or it just didn't work out. And Greyhound Connections always does that. They always check that the home is right for the dog. And so then we adopted Swifty.
And people often think, if they don't know greyhounds, because they see them at racetracks with muzzles and chasing after little fake rabbits, they think that they're, for a start, very, very active dogs, and secondly, really ferocious and vicious. And having met Swifty at her home, lying down peacefully and quietly greeting us, I can attest that nothing is further from the truth. But where does this reputation come from, Marilyn, of them being vicious?
I think it comes from the fact that when they race, they don't anymore, but they used to use live animals that they chased after. And so they were used to chasing after small live things. And I think that has changed now, and most greyhounds you meet are very gentle and can live happily with cats and small animals. But you have to check. They're not all like that, but most of them are.
And you were telling me a wonderful story when we met Swifty of going for a walk with Swifty, because as I said, we think of them as being really active dogs, and I think Swifty has won races running at 62 kilometres an hour. 66 kilometres an hour. My goodness. And had visions of Marilyn, you know, hurtling around the streets. But apparently walk time, and she thought, no, I've had enough, I'm just lying down.
Yep.
Too bad, you can carry me home. Is this right?
Well, when it's hot, she goes and lies down in the shade and said, right, that's it. And she very firmly says, no, we're going home now. I've had enough time. I've had enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so all of our illusions and misapprehensions about greyhounds are put to rest with this. A very gentle dog, as you can see, and all the dogs here, they're all just lying peacefully, not worrying about the fact that they're amidst lots of people, and really prefer to lie and sleep than rush around. Now, Marilyn, the adopting of Swifty is one thing, and she has a wonderful story. You've now taken that extra step and made Swifty into an international media and literary star by writing Swifty, Where's My Pie? And we now have, for our enjoyment and the enjoyment of our children, our grandchildren, kids in schools, this beautiful book that you've shared with us. Well, what was the step? Tell us the reason for the book.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I started wanting to write a book about her because when we first got her particularly, she stole lots of things. She stole cannoli from her foster carer in a bag that was on the kitchen bench. In the first week that we had her, we came home and found her on the sofa with having shredded a baguette, even though she hasn't got any teeth. And so she really is a bit of a thief. And she also ate an entire piping bag full of salted caramel more recently. And of course a greyhound's nose fits perfectly into a piping bag. So I started writing about that, and then I thought, I really want to write this in rhyme. And I realise now, that in fact my father used to recite me rhymes. The chief defect of Henry King is eating little bits of string, chewing little bits of string, or the more it snows, tiddly-pom, the more it goes, tiddly-pom, on snowing. And so all those rhymes that we have as children, and as a way of communicating with children, just sort of, you know, I just wanted to do something that carried it forward, because greyhounds are used to running and moving, and I just wanted to have that rhythm in the story. So I cobbled together some rhymes. And then I was in England, and my cousin published a book about a giraffe, and it was illustrated by Jane Osler, who's the illustrator. And I thought, if she can draw giraffes, she can probably draw greyhounds. So I asked her, and we did it over, mostly during COVID, backwards and forwards, by email. She would send me a picture. I said, that doesn't look like Swifty. Here are 100 more photographs. And that's how we did it.
And quite difficult working remotely like that, but I guess made easier in COVID because everyone's zooming to one another all the time now.
Yeah.
Now, Swifty, as you say, has no teeth, and she's a slender, beautiful dog. In the winter, she gets cold in Canberra, doesn't she? And she has these wonderful onesie suits that you've bought for her.
Yes. And I mean, everybody has a greyhound. We do have a bit of fun, don't we, Martina? Dressing our greyhounds in winter, because the rule is, if it's 10 degrees or less, you dress your greyhound. If you wear a coat outside, they wear a coat outside, because as you can see, they're very skinny, they've got no fat on them, their fur is very fine. So we do have a lot of fun, but one of the things that happened is that the first pair of PJs I got for Swifty, we woke up and there was this terrifying shriek from Swifty, which I have found out is called the Greyhound scream of death. They're very touchy. Usually the Greyhound scream of death is not about anything serious. She had put her foot through the neck hole of her PJs, like this, and she couldn't move. There is a designer who used to be a dress designer who makes greyhound clothes. So now she wears these very closely fitting greyhound clothes.
Oh, as befits,
PJs.
As befits an international literary star. Now, Marilyn, the weather seems to be getting worse and worse, so let's be as quick as we can so that people don't get inundated before they can buy the book. I do want to say that Marilyn has, with her typical generosity, donated 10% of the sale of every one of these books to the Greyhound rescue people, Greyhound Connections. And so that, if nothing else, and of course the book itself is reason enough, but if nothing else, that is reason for you to buy not one, but at least 5 of these books before you leave today. It's validation for Marilyn's work. It's supporting a really wonderful organisation, helping give homes to the homeless and to the needy, which is something we all espouse. And it also means that you'll have copies of this to give grandchildren, neighbours, friends, donate one to your school or preschool. And it's really important, particularly for independent publishers, to be supported in that way, because independent publishers don't have the big machinery of Allen and Unwin traipsing them around every bookstore in Australia with a publicity consultant. So really important that you all, within the limits of your purse today, go home with as many copies as you possibly can.
And can I also say that Barbie has just written a fabulous book called Grandma's Knicker Tree, about a tree that grows knickers of all kinds. And she's brought some today. I think they got hidden because of the rain, so they'll come out again. Have you got one that you can wave? I can wave a book around. Also by an independent publisher. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just so
there we are.
If you want to buy one of each, that'd be fabulous.
5 of each.
5 of each, okay. I just again wanted to say something about the artist, because we're filming this so that we can send it to her. So I just wanted to say thank you to Jane, who worked tirelessly and really over a very long time doing beautiful portraits of Swifty, and has really made the book fantastic. And the designer, Adrian, is over on the back there. Wave your hand. And he made that cover. He took Jane's illustration and made this fabulous cover, with the lettering and everything, and pulled the whole book together and made it make sense. So thank you very much, Adrian. I really appreciate it.
And without book designers, we don't actually have books. They don't just pop up off the computer. No. So an essential part of your team.
Yeah.
Well, can I thank everyone very much for coming, and again apologise that I'm not Karen Biggers. And I know that she's very, very sad not to be here with you. She would have asked Marilyn a lot of questions about actual greyhoundness and the food she eats and the medical conditions and all of those sorts of things. And she could have brought her own vet experience to bear in this conversation. But I think that Swifty and the other dogs around us really speak for themselves. They are such beautiful creatures, and it's so lovely that people do choose to rescue them from what could be a much less happy life that they will now be spending for the rest of their living days. So thank you so much to everyone for coming, and thank you to Marilyn for asking me to do this speaking. Thank you to the brasserie for this beautiful food, and I think Owen also, thank you for the beautiful macarons.
The macarons, yes.
We can all dive into, and Marilyn will be here to sign books, and Owen will be there to sell them to you. And we also have a beautiful stall which I've already visited with lots of lovely Greyhound merchandise, Christmas stockings, and even Christmas stockings with cats on them as well. So Marilyn, congratulations, and we can officially say that the book is launched.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And before you all put your hands together, I can just say that we have negotiated with the ACT Education Department to put a Swifty book in every single public school in the
That's fantastic. And there is also one in a school in WA, because one of my customers just emailed me and said I've donated one to the school. It's somewhere in WA, I don't remember where, but thank you so much. That's amazing. Wonderful. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.